We are here with the one and only Kit Guerra. And how you doing, man?
We're good. It's good to see you.
We're here in New York
I know,
right now.
It's fucking chilly.
It's a bit way too far from back home. But yeah, we're in good company. We even have Josh who's joining us here today as well. We do these podcasts. You might have seen behind the booth. We've done podcasts around clubs, bars in the Philippines, Urban Makati, Moffs, Central, all of the friends and partners that, it's really just getting to know the communities behind the nightlife venues, right, and the events. And now Kit here, for those who have been following his journey, started his humble beginnings back in Manila and now is definitely killing the club scene, opening for huge acts, and more about that. But Kit, first, how are you doing, man? Good to see you here.
They're good. It's good to see Filipino blood, a nightlife scene come to New York. It's a little bit cold, but doing good. Just
New Year's was crazy, right? What do you guys do for New Year's? You had an event, right?
So there was marquee with Jew, but I decided to spend with family. I know it's the Filipino roots, right?
That's a yearly dilemma, but it's a lot harder when you're abroad and it's only once a year that everyone flies in and
exactly.
spends time together. But Kit, for those who might have not yet heard of you, tell us your story, man. How did you get started? Where did this whole brand come from?
Long story short, I moved to the Philippines when it was around high school. I think it was around 2001. And I was purely into sports. So I did rugby, I did a lot of those things. I actually made it to the national team for a lot of that.
Nice.
Long story short, one time we won the championships. We were actually out, I think, at Raven, if you remember the nightclub then.
Yeah, right next to Bounce.
Yeah.
Building is Bounce, W5th.
That's right. So we were at Raven, we were partying with a few tables. I drunkenly said that I could do what DJs do. I can press play, I can do those things.
All right.
And one of the promoters overheard me. So he overheard me and he's like, okay, bet. I'm gonna challenge you to play this, so we'll book you next week.
Okay.
Grave shit, dude. I was freaking out. I didn't know what to do. Luckily, there were a couple of DJ schools in the Philippines. One of them was BPM, B Project Manila.
Yeah.
Travis took me under his wing. We did 1 week straight sessions every single day. Played the set. They thought I did pretty well, so they started booking me again.
Yep.
And that's how I started in DJ.
Yeah.
Randomly. And then it's been going forward ever since. So, I have a mindset of always putting one foot in front of the other. And so, from one gig to another, I would always just keep moving forward.
Yeah.
And it's a mindset that you have to keep, especially in nightlife, right? Like if you get stuck, just keep trying, keep finding those opportunities and move forward.
Fact. I was thinking about what you said, right? That compared to most DJs in the Philippines, it takes a while before they get their first club gig, right? Fortunately for you, even I had a similar experience as well, that I was kind of thrown into the industry. There was an opportunity to play. I already wanted to play and stuff like that. So, within a span of a few weeks, you started to get your first gigs, and it snowballs from there. And here you are, right?
Yeah.
What I always like to compare it to is riding a bike, right? DJing is like riding a bike. Not just because you already could run with your own two wheels. That means you could compete in competitions or in I don't know, in whatever, Olympics or some shit, right? So there's a lot of pieces to it, right?
Right.
And I think I've also learned the hard way that even if you do have the opportunity to take shortcuts and maybe fast just accelerate your pace to where you want to go, you're still gonna have to learn everything, right? The crowd reading is a different story, producing is a different story, song selection is a different story. So it's not just really knowing how to operate the bike, right?
Yeah, there's always a rhyme and reason for people to say start with your fundamentals and your foundation, right? You can't skip those things. If you want to be a main stage act, you have to start from ground zero. Get yourself familiar with the club. Sometimes you have to introduce yourself to mic skills, right? You have to be around the crowd.
That's very true.
Reading the crowd is also another one.
Yeah.
And making sure that you continue to build every time you have an opportunity to play. I think that's what people, at least here, even in New York, that they miss out on, right? A lot of bedroom DJs want to play in the club.
Yeah.
They want to skip everything else and get there.
Yeah.
But then they're not ready for for a headline set or any type of set.
What do you see like going to a DJ school? Is that a must, or does that help at all? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, for me, I'm a learner where I have to have someone like tell me what to do.
Yeah.
So it was really helpful for me, at least from the beginning, to get my fundamentals. After that, that's when like you can go on YouTube and learn like, you know, different transitions and those types of things. But schools really help you because it gives you the kind of the foundation for you to build.
No, I agree. Like, I would have been all over the place, like even more if you didn't have some sort of mentor to tell you what to do next, or at least what the next step is. I mean, putting you in front of a CDJ is like throwing you in a cockpit, right? Like there's so many buttons, like one button could crash the plane, literally, right? But then again, there are also those guys, even in the Philippines, these bedroom producers who have no means of buying equipment, maybe, like borrow a laptop or use like some audio making software on their phones or whatnot. One good example of them is DJ Love, right? You can think of like the shittiest computer possible, but he did start a movement of budots, right? And it's very trivial. It's very trivial. We're not going to be getting into that in this podcast. It's all about Kit. But yeah, I mean, it's really good to see, as you said, really good to see Filipinos, making it out, regardless of maybe the difference in in the industry, in the local scene, and outside the Philippines as well. What would be your advice, right? Like, or what? Maybe you could start something simpler, with something simpler. What are the differences in terms of business culture, like the music business in general in the Philippines and here in New York?
So, I don't know, because I haven't been there for a while now, but from what I experienced there, I think in the Philippines, there's a lot of undercutting. And this is a theme that I think you guys have talked about a lot, but like you know that there are DJs that are worthy of playing at specific venues, and then other DJs may come in and say they want to reduce tab fee or they want to go in for free. Like that's one of the big things. And I think also, I think in the nightlife scene there, it's also very cliquish. So cliquish in the sense that like there are certain groups that will only book DJs from certain groups, right? And they will never book people outside of that.
All this experience that Josh, you, me, right? Everyone
exactly.
Else,
right? And I feel like, while it kind of sets a standard of how people want to play there, like you're not introduced to a lot of new music. You're not introduced to a lot of whole new genres because, I mean, even when I went there before, like I think it was last year, we went there last year, I felt like I was trapped in time, almost.
That's true. No, that's very true.
But yeah, that's what I would say is, I think the large difference between like Manila and New York, I think New York is very competitive in nature. New York nightlife is its own business. So everyone treats nightlife as a business. Even if you're a DJ, you have to have a business mindset to push forward in the industry here. But I think they allow a lot of more opportunities. Again, you could go down one street and find 100 different venues to play at.
Yeah, but I mean, I agree, right? Like, I think that should also be, not that you really learn, but something that we could pick up from, right? Like, even if, like, wherever you are, wherever you're from, right? Even if you're from, a province in the Philippines that doesn't have a club to play at, that really shouldn't stop you, because at the same time there will be opportunities that come out of the weirdest places, right? Like, let's say for example, we have some random kid. One of these guys, his name's Jezreel, and he's a producer. He helps us out in Midnight Rebels and all that stuff. So we did this like blind demo listening session with Laid Back Luke just recently when he was in the Philippines, right? So we got 5 random songs from 5 random producers in the Philippines, and we made him listen to each and every one of them without telling them who it was, what the background. Just listen and give your feedback. And it was Jezreel's song who got handpicked by Laid Back Luke. And what he said was, like, it's amazing how much raw talent there is in the Philippines, right? I mean, maybe yes, because we're musically inclined. Second is maybe because we're an English-speaking country. But just the fact that you have these kids with just a computer learning how to produce music from YouTube without going to a DJ school we've been talking about. Like, there really is opportunity for everyone as long as you really love what you're doing, and I think that also comes to show with the output of your work that you have. Let's talk about you, Kit. So what were your most recent events or highlights that you've gone through in 2024?
2024 was a pretty big year. I wasn't actually, so to your story, right? there's always a distinction between a DJ who plays everybody else's songs, and then there's also artists who develop and create their own music. I thought 2024 was kind of my transition period. So again, I've been headlining in New York for quite some time, from 2022 to 2024, and then I wanted to transition and see if I can make it to the main stage, right? The main stage in terms of like festivals. And so I knew the logical step was to move into production and start creating music. I took a lot less gigs, but they were more meaningful. So one of the big ones was for Halloween. I did a direct support for Kashmir at Marquee, which was really cool.
This is my hero, Kashmir.
He's great. Such a nice guy too. And then I was invited to play in Australia for their inaugural like Spinning Sessions festival there. So I think it's in the right path. Like, I'm super excited about like the upwards trajectory. I think ultimately my goal is similar to many, you know, artists that are now making it to play in Ultra in Europe and things. It's like, gotta put Filipinos on the map. We're so so musically inclined that it's like, I don't see why not. Like, I think it just takes a lot more people to kind of push the prerogative and to push that initiative forward.
Like how I see it really is, I think we were late to the party. Like, the Philippines is just, you know, an island by itself that it took us maybe, you know, a year and a half, 3 years to pick it up, that, you know, like, this is actually fucking happening all around the world. Like, electronic dance music is, you know, making it's changing its form. Right? Like, even with, you've seen this with how Tomorrowland grew from a simple festival to what it is now. Now it's happening in Bangkok, it's happening in Southeast Asia, it's happening in China. Like, the technology that they have there and what they can do with these kinds of events, it's crazy. So for me, how I see it, going back to your point earlier of it feels like you can get stuck in a time capsule if you're in an environment or in a country or in an industry that, you know, like, it might not be music first all the time. Like, I think I mentioned it earlier that everywhere else in the world, like, it's gonna be about the music first and then everything else after. But as long as I think, like, these kids who are watching Midnight Rebels or other producers, DJs, as long as, like, you have the right mindset, I think they'll be able to do, like, something as close to what you've achieved all the way here in New York, right, kid? But yeah, what have you been working on, man? Like, give us a sneak peek.
So yeah, I mean, I have a track that I'm thinking about finishing hopefully by this month, and then like shopping around with possible labels or even self-releasing. But because I've moved around all my life and I've always had like my mom and dad with me, I don't know what, lights off.
Oh no.
That's so funny. Is that working?
Oh shit.
Okay.
Wait, what?
What happened?
I think they're back. Okay.
What was I gonna say? Oh yeah, so starting a track. I love classic music, but I always want to like remix it in a way that's a flavor that's like based on who I am from a music standpoint. So I'm gonna do a little bit of Tiesto type stuff and remixing an old classic, which is what I have here. It's That's the Way, still a work in progress.
I think you could give us a quick sneak peek until the first drop, and then they have to wait for the full release.
Yeah, for sure. Just gonna. That's the way up. 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 That's the way
Let's go. No, that's it, guys. But yeah, dude, that's fucking fresh, man.
Yeah.
It's fresh.
A little bit more groovy, right? Like, I think I want to get back into
I like the some sort of like reverse siren that you have that comes in every 4 bars in the drop. Yeah, no, I like it. One thing that I've noticed back home is that the old EDM, like progressive house style of DJing doesn't really work anymore. You know, it's an intro song, then outro, then intro, like fade out and lyrics, then fade out and lyrics. I noticed that the attention span of the Filipino crowd is a lot shorter, and a good way that I've been trying to keep the energy up on dance floors is just by playing housey stuff.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, housey stuff, and the same thing in New York. I think we're now in this like TikTok generation where you're getting 15 seconds
Yeah.
of a song and like people can do with that. So over here, you have to pick up the ability to quick mix. Quick mixing mean like one
Power
drop, half a
mixing,
drop, and like mix in a cappella with like another track. And so, I mean, that's kind of the style that they play here.
Gotcha. But it's very similar to what we play, how we used to play, or at least the great DJs back at home, right? Let's say, for example, how Ron Poe does a lot of this, like Ace Ramos does a lot of this, even Aryan does a lot of this, right? It's the term that I picked up was power mixing.
Yep.
Just one song smash it after the other, like just having that really good flow that you could keep the energy of a crowd. I'm the shittiest DJ you could ever possibly know, but I could give you really good songs that go one right after the other, and having house songs that make sense even during the transition. Basically, you have, instead of having two songs that are mixing together, you have 3 songs.
Yeah.
You have a dancing part, and then you have this long overlap of 2 songs that can be a groove. You know, this is the part where you just start doing the cha-cha or like taking shots, and then you build it up again, and then you drop it in another song. But if you have a whole set that's 2 hours of that, that doesn't really have those like dead moments unless you're in a festival. Right? Then the crowd kind of, like sticks a lot longer, and it's not as energetic as before where you have people jumping for the whole 8 bars or 16 bars of the drop, right? But they are dancing a little bit less energy, but it's more consistent throughout the night, which I like personally.
That's true. I mean, what I have found out here is like crowd reading is essential for a lot of crowds, and I know that you probably picked this up too, but like, there's a high point in anyone's night where they're going to be jumping, they're going to be dancing. Yeah. There's also going to be points in where they just want to talk to their friends. Like, we have to understand that as DJs, we're providing them the vibe, if you will. And so, you kind of have to go with the flow of how they're doing things. Yeah. Sometimes you may take it as high as like 175 BPM. You could do that. But then you might bring it down to 100. Like, gotcha. It's really, just find the flow and kind of tell your story that way.
In terms of sound, like, what do you notice? Like, what's popping here in New York?
I mean, in terms of sound, I will say techno is getting pretty big here, like minimal techno.
I would say it's funny because back in Southeast Asia, it's already been big, like the past like 4 or 5 years, right?
It's been big. I think they're picking up now, but you're starting to see kind of a divide here. So Big Room is kind of a little bit on its way out. I still say it's here because it's here. People like the classics, but you have camps that are moving to tech house. You have camps that are moving a little bit higher, speed house, and then you have a third camp, which is everything bass and future related. So those are kind of like the 3 camps that we have, and I mean, there's so many different venues that offer that specific sound.
I mean, think about it, because the Philippines isn't that far too off as well. Maybe we're just a bit late in getting the trends. Yeah. But I think it's also because, we're basically an English-speaking nation, so all the content that we consume is from the West. Right? So there is the tendency for us to have similarities in the way the industry moves and navigates itself, right? But I do always say, right, that we might be a few years late. But then again, like, the world's getting smaller every day, right?
Yep, absolutely. No, I mean, I will say, like, within the Philippines, they're probably the first to like pick up kind of the new sound from coming from the US or from Europe or anything. And then it further cascades into like the rest of Asia. Like, Filipinos are very quick to pick up on new things.
Even for us, right? So like, if I was a bedroom producer, a startup DJ, I'd want to get it released in Spinnin records. Right. So I think we're at the part of the show where we give you guys the alpha. Like, it's our turn to give back for you guys to watch it. So, Kit, this is something that probably a lot of aspiring artists are thinking about. So what does that look like? Or like, what does that journey look like? Being able to collaborate with a label like Spinnin Records.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing, which, I mean, I said before, is like DJs and artists have to be businessmen in themselves, right? Like, they have to have this business mindset. And it goes down to really about networking. Like, I wouldn't be here playing in different venues if I wasn't able to network, meet the owners, meet, club goers and everybody, because that gives you some of the best opportunities. So for instance, when I was in, I think the first year that I was here, I didn't particularly have a club. I didn't know. I didn't even know if I wanted to DJ anymore. When I went to different clubs, I was able to speak to the bouncers who put me forward to the owners. And then I was able to get my headline sets, which is fantastic. And then as a regular at different venues, like bartenders would actually introduce me to the likes of, Spinnin A&R or Ultra Management and those types of things.
They're a friend of a friend of a
Right.
friend.
So I go into the mindset that like, listen, if I'm going to go out, I'm not really going to party. I'm going to go there and network. I'm going to go to the network. I'm going to treat the bouncer the same way that I'll treat an owner, with a lot of respect and, being Filipino and being nice. And that gives you some of those opportunities. So
It does, yeah.
when it does come to, label A&Rs, like, yes, if you are fantastic at production, you probably have a high chance of getting through. But if you have another person who's deeply connected and friends with A&Rs or labels, like there's also a very high likelihood that you can get a track signed as well.
But what do you think about brands or artists that come in teams? Right? Let's say you have the main artist who's also the DJ, who's also the producer, but let's say one of your best friends is the video guy, and then one of your best friends is the social media guy, like stuff like that, right? Because I want to get your thoughts on it, because for me, like let's say for example, if I am working at maybe like Sony Music, it cuts me all of that extra legwork that I have to do for you to make your song successful. But if you have a team, like I'm buying into not only you, but I'm buying into the whole brand as a whole. So it's now more of, and I'm not sure, but it's, for me, it's more of a, it's a new way of labels in investing in artists.
Yeah, so I mean, I think teams are great. So teams are great. They have their pros and cons. I would say that as a DJ or an artist, like first have your own creative integrity as it pertains to you being a brand. I think that's first and foremost. Secondly is, again, kind of develop your full suite of being a businessman in the industry, right? So businessman meaning like, you know how to market yourself, you know what type of sound you want to play, you have the skills as a DJ or an artist, and then use your team to kind of add fuel to the fire. So they're kind of like the NOS to your own self as a brand. I feel like they're additive and added value to you as an artist, because at some point, and I've heard this so many times over, but like the nightlife will fuck you over. The industry can fuck you over.
It will,
And if you lose out on your team, it's just you in this, right?
Yeah.
So if you had somebody that is really just running your social, if you have somebody that's just doing your media, and now you don't have it, like you may, fall off the face of the planet. Everyone has TikTok mentality nowadays, so like you may be forgotten in the span of like a minute or two,
So definitely, it always helps that you also let there be light.
How is this moving,
I think that cuts in. There you go.
Maybe it's a motion sensor. That's so funny.
Because we're not moving.
Yeah, it's probably because they're not moving. Somebody just has a dance in the background.
Oh yeah, there. I was gonna say. So fuck. What was I saying? We'll go back to the teams. Okay, so yeah, I mean, I asked you the question because I myself, right, like the people that I work with back home, these are friends from 5, 10, 15 years way back, who I think just really love what they're doing. Because I think at the end of the day that you'll end up working with people who you deserve. Yeah. Right? And if you guys all deserve to succeed, then that's all on you. Like whether you fuck up, whether if you slack off, whether if, like whatever challenges those are, as long as at least if I think that you're working with a really trustworthy team that can also elevate you and have the same goals, then I think even the smallest brands can go very, 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 very far. We're starting to see that. Kids from the Philippines, just start as bedroom producers, now are headlining, or at least they're now musical directors of different bars and clubs in different provinces in the Philippines, right? So the industry is definitely growing. There's a lot of opportunity there. There's platforms like Midnight Rebels. You also have guys like Kit here, who is in the front lines, making those connections, setting that path for everyone else who'd want to follow his career. So yeah, I mean, Kit, props to you. Well, you're our front man here in New York for sure.
Thank you.
And all the other DJs out there, we'd love to connect. It's our first time in New York, me and Stro. Yeah. So we'll be back definitely, but hit us up. Let's connect. We'll do some events together. Yeah. And it's gonna be fun. Before we go, Kit, any last reminders? Any upcoming news for the brand? Yeah,
I mean, for upcoming news, this 31st, I'll be direct support for Joyride, which is one of my favorite artists. He's a really be dope. Bass house forward.
He's a god.
And then I'm doing a mini festival in Vegas on February 14 weekend. And then there's a planned TBD festival mid-year in 2025.
Let's go. So there you have it, guys. So how do we follow you for those who haven't yet?
Yeah, I mean, largely on Instagram, Kit.Guerra, easy to follow. You can find me on SoundCloud as well. Same links. And yeah, love to connect with anybody who's interested.
Yeah, we'll be bringing Kit back home. So see you guys in a bit. This is Midnight Radio. Cheers. Peace out.
Thanks, guys.